Hello and welcome to the last of our series of short videos about the essays you need to write for Logos 1. We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the beautiful lands where our campuses are built. And this is part of 5 videos on the topic of editing your work. And we're at this point where we need to look at those crimes you may have committed against the English language and your last chance to correct them and come clean. Otherwise, your essay may be regarded as a crime scene and wrapped up in tape. Well, let's begin with theft. What's been stolen here? Let's have a look at this sentence. The importance of philosophy lies in how it teaches young people critical thinking. This is more important than ever in today's information-rich societies. Oh, something has been stolen here. Yes, it's the full stop. No, you can't just carry on with your little comma. We need to stop and start again. And I may well refer you to earlier presentations on paragraph writing and 7A about editing too. Here's another one where something appears to have been stolen. According to Dawkins, science and religion are in conflict. However, Plantinga argues that the conflict is more apparent than real. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense like that, right? Well, let's see what's been stolen. Oh, a whole bunch of punctuation has been lifted from this sentence. Let's put it back. According to Dawkins, let's take a little pause. Science and religion are in conflict. Sentence is over. We need the full stop. However, and then you need a little comma because it's such a dramatic word. So, my suggestion is that you read through sentences in a kind of newsreader voice because it kind of exaggerates a little bit and helps you to know where you need the punctuation or where it may have been stolen. Hacking. Oh dear, becoming very, very common these days. And we're going to have a look at something that seems to have been hacked off. The argument is valid, meaning that as long as the premises are true, it is not possible for the conclusion to be false. Well, the end bit seems okay, but that's not a sentence. It's just been hacked off. Okay? It's been hacked off where it should have been in the middle of the sentence before, meaning can't just begin a sentence on its own. The argument is valid, meaning that as long as the premises are true, it is not possible for the conclusion to be false. That's okay. Now, I'm not hacked off. But I did mention in an earlier presentation that it's quite a good idea to keep your sentences short and stop and start again when you have the chance. So if you wanted to, you could actually do that here and just say, the argument is valid, stop. This means that, okay, and then you kind of refresh things a little bit. Anyway, both of those solutions are fine. okay? But we don't want you beginning sentences like meaning, like that. Okay, drunk driving. You've literally been caught drunk in charge of a sentence. The importance of philosophy for Socrates is critically important for citizenship. I don't know, but isn't that just saying that the importance is important? Well, tell me something I don't know. You know, it's just that the second half of the sentence has forgotten about the first half. And it can happen if you're distracted or actually drunk. But let's hope you're not in that state when you're writing your essay. I think that's what the student actually meant to say. Would you agree? And here's another one that looks like it's been written under the influence. Obtaining a promotion may be perceived by a Christian as a blessing from God, whereas from an atheist may view it as a reward for their efforts, or be seen as mere good fortune. You see, again, the sentence has just kind of run away with the student, and they haven't sort of checked what they said before. So it doesn't match up. It's like that guy in the bar who just won't let you go and just kind of carrying on with his story. Come on. So those two things don't make any sense at all. What we need, I suppose, is to fix it like this. Obtaining a promotion may be perceived by a Christian as a blessing from God, whereas an atheist may view it. It wasn't that difficult to fix. But again, get your newsreader voice going and you'll have a bit of a better chance of detecting where your original sentence might have been 1/8, as we used to say. Okay, we now come to the horrific offense of abduction. Abduction, where the apostrophe has been abducted. I know you see what I did there. So here's one that you might find you writing yourself. How many gods are we talking about here? I don't believe that the student is referring to more than one. So it's God's goodness, the goodness of God. That's what the apostrophe S is supposed to be. And here's, well, maybe the opposite, humanity's sinfulness. When you read it out, it sounds fine, but humanities is the subject that you might study at university or the department. What this student clearly means is the sinfulness of humanity. No? So it's humanity's sinfulness. You knew that already. Well, it's the individual's responsibility. Again, it just sounds fine when you say it. But where do we put the apostrophe in this case? Is it before or after the S? You know, you might know. But let's just do a little review for a second, okay? You'll know this kind of sentence. Put the register on the teacher's desk. Okay, same example like we saw just now of God's goodness. Okay, it's the desk of the teacher, one teacher. And this one, the meeting is in the teacher's room. Clearly here, it's the room of the teachers. There's already an S on the word teachers, because there's more than one. So we just put the apostrophe after the S. That's already there. So clearly in this case, I think it's clear that it's a single individual that the student is referring to, and therefore it's individual responsibility. Okay, so a little review for you. It's clear. If you get confused, you'll find plenty of kind of little videos about the apostrophe on the internet, etc. Let's agree that it's a kind of stupid thing to have in English, but you know, we're stuck with it. Okay, look, last one, Socrates. Well, he's already got an S on his name, and he's also got that long sound at the end, ease. So all he needs is a little apostrophe after his name. Okay, and you do the same. Maybe in science, you would have learned Archimedes' principle, and it's the same thing. Okay, you have been found round the back of the market, handling stolen goods. And in this case, the stolen goods are these words that you lifted from who knows where, and you think you'll just use them in your essay. The problem is they're like someone else's. They're not yours. And chances you're going to get it all wrong. Only by learning how to thinking critically, there's a mistake already, that's not good, oh dear, can young people divulge the truth behind appearances. So, you've got the grammar mistake there, to think. But then they've got this word divulge. Why? Divulge means to kind of tell someone a secret, doesn't it? Oh, I'm telling you this in confidence, don't divulge it. I mean, it's not a word I would use at all. So why would the students suddenly use it? What's got into them? No one's holding a gun to your head and making you use these words that you don't normally use. The chances are you're going to get it wrong. Okay, so clearly the student means, can young people understand the truth? Wouldn't that do? I think so. Socrates was a philosopher in whom believed the importance of questioning everything. Again, this word whom. Yeah, you might suddenly think, oh, I better be all formal, so I'd better use whom suddenly. Honestly, don't. You don't need to at all. In fact, you don't need to write in a formal way. Who told you that? You just don't write very informally. But there's a world of difference, okay? Formal is up there. Informal is right down there. You've got all of this space to work with. There's plenty of words that you can use that are just fine, okay? You don't need to suddenly get all formal. Anyway, if you do want to use the word whom, I mean, it does exist in English, but you do need to use it correctly. So here's an example. He is a teacher whom I greatly esteem. Really, I should have said he is, because the whole sentence is quite formal, wouldn't you agree? And whom is the object. In other words, I esteem him. He's a teacher whom I greatly esteem. And we can put the preposition in front, a word like in, of, at, by. Those are prepositions. He's a teacher in whom I trust. Okay, again, it's the object. I trust in him. He's a teacher in whom I trust. But if it's the subject, you can't use whom. Okay, it'd be like using him instead of he. Okay, it's only like a tiny little child would do that. Like a real little kid who's learning how to speak, they might say, "Oh, him told me that, sir. Him told me that." No, you can't. You can't suddenly revert to kind of how you spoke as a toddler. Anyway, he's a teacher who really cares, not whom, because it's he. It's the subject. Anyway, look, the fact is, having explained that, you don't need to use the word at all. Honestly, avoid it. And in this case, clearly, it's just the subject we need anyway. Oh, negligence. Quite a failing these days. Look at this. Authors such as Kravalitsky argues that I wanted to bring back Kravalitsky because I really enjoyed that from an earlier presentation. Anyway, so what's wrong here? Well, they don't go together, do they? Either it's Kravalitsky argues, that's singular, she argues, or authors, plural, such as Kravalitsky, argue. Okay, so it's negligence because you haven't really looked carefully to match up. You've just picked two wrong socks from the drawer and you are guilty of a fashion crime. Lewis argues that the popular understanding of God's power and goodness are mistaken. Same kind of thing, wouldn't you agree? The student maybe's got confused with the two words before and they think it's plural. And unfortunately, Microsoft Word, the grammar check's really bad at this and sometimes will give you the wrong answer. But anyway, look, the subject is the popular understanding. That's singular, it's one. It should be is mistaken. So, get your socks in a pair. We come to the horrible antisocial offence of vandalism in the English language. Look at this ruined sentence. Without the gift of reason, we wouldn't have been able to work out the laws of nature. So, we. Who is we? Who is you? Who is we? Don't use those words in your essay. We don't know we. Is it you and your brother? We don't know. It doesn't mean anything. Wouldn't is a contraction. You've been told to write in full words, not to snip. And then wouldn't of done. Well, it sounds like of, okay. But we know really the word is have. So I should have known better is I should have known. Okay? It's just that we say it sounds a bit like of. And then work out. Well, I told you that we've got the kind of formal up here and the informal. And I do think that work out is a little bit too near the lower end. So it comes across as a little slightly slangy. In most cases, work out would be fine. But I think in a philosophy essay, it's a bit informal and also maybe a little bit vague. Okay, so instead of we, who are you actually talking about? Humans? Would not have been able, and work out. I'm determined may seem a little bit formal, but to determine something means to work it out, and it's actually quite a useful academic word to use for that meaning. Okay, but if you didn't know, weren't sure about that word, and I have told you to be careful about words you're not really sure of, it would be okay to say to understand the laws of nature. Okay, so it brings me to my main message, that many of these crimes, honestly, were avoidable. In many cases, students made their life more difficult. They've kind of committed a crime they had no need to. So, keep it simple, students, is my message to you. Okay, where possible, write in shorter sentences, write with words which are relatively ordinary words, and you'll be generally a lot safer. And honestly, you'll make your life easier as well. The fact is that when you're trying to explain complicated ideas, you don't want the language to be complicated as well, because it just makes everything complicated. So because you are dealing with like argument and abstract thought, keep the language as simple as you can. So, we're done. That's the end of this series. And I'm just reminding you of this link where you can give feedback. And I do hope you're able to give some feedback on this series of new videos that we've made. And very best of luck to you in completing your essay without any major crimes being committed.